Good evening. I want to call to order this meeting of the Wendell Town Board of Commissioners. Welcome. We're happy to have all of you here with us tonight. We're going to be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Wendell Elementary School student Jamie Smith. Jamie, if you can come up to the podium. This came from Jamie's kindergarten teacher, and she said, excuse me, I had the pleasure of being Jamie's kindergarten teacher and watching her continue to grow into the amazing second grader she is today. Jamie excels in her academics and is always excited to learn something new. She is always willing to help her classmates or her teacher when needed. Jamie is the perfect example of what a hard-working student looks like. Even more importantly, Jamie is a wonderful person. She is a friend to all and treats everyone with kindness, even in the hardest situations. She has a heart of gold. I can't think of anyone more deserving to be recognized. Well, we are so very proud of you. So thank you for being such a good student and a good friend at Wendell Elementary School. Okay.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, honey. You can go back and sit with your parents now. Our invocation tonight from St. Eugene's Catholic Church, we're going to hear from Edward Keegan.
Good evening, Mayor.
Good evening. Thank you so much for being here.
It's my honor to be asked to lead you in prayer. Let us pray. Lord, grant we may always allow ourselves to be guided by you, always follow your plans, and perfectly accomplish your holy will. Grant that in all things, great and small, today and all days of our lives, we may do whatever you require of us. Help us respond to the slightest promptings of your grace so that we may be your worthy instruments for your honor. May your will be done. Amen.
Thank you. Are there any adjustments to the agenda?
Madam Mayor, we could add an item to the agenda for Chief Carter.
Okay, and that can be item 4B. Okay, so do we have a motion to approve with the addition of an item at item 4B?
So moved.
All right, all in favor? Aye. All right, thank you. Public comment period. The public can participate in public comment by signing up the night of the meeting, and you have 3 minutes to speak, or you can submit written statements via the town clerk by the Friday at 5 p.m. on the Friday prior to the Monday town board meeting. Please include your name and address for the record, and it will be read aloud for, for the length of 3 minutes. Tonight we have 2 people signed up, and the first is, and I'm not sure about how to pronounce this, Rad Kamoth. Did I get it right? Good. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Bradika, and I go by Rad. I live in the Wendell Falls neighborhood. I wasn't going to do this.
It's
I
okay.
moved here in July of 2022 from St. Louis, Missouri. I'm so glad for the opportunity to be able to thank the Wendell Police Department. Back at the end of June this year, my now 20-year-old son attempted suicide. He tried to jump off of the ledge of one of the higher floors of a parking garage. He called me to say goodbye. After he hung up on me, I, who was in Birmingham, Alabama at that time, frantically called the police department in Wendell. They took complete charge of the situation, asked his name and phone number, worked with the Raleigh PD, and located my son and saved him. He was taken to a local hospital and kept safe from harming himself. He was mere minutes away from jumping off the ledge. The police officer assigned to the case was very kind and courteous. While they were working on locating my son and saving him, I was in hysterics and calling the police station frequently, asking if they had found him. They were so kind, patient, and understanding. My son is doing well now and is back in college. I cannot express in words the depth of my gratitude to the police department. They work so hard and selflessly for our safety and protection. I was one of those people who, without understanding the impact of it, had supported the defund the police posts on Facebook. I am not sure what the impact of that movement has been financially on the PD, but I am thoroughly ashamed of myself and want to take this opportunity to apologize. You all go above and beyond to keep us safe. Your job is fraught with risks, and yet you show up to it daily. You and your family will always be in my prayers. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Thank you, and I'm so pleased that your son's doing well,
Thank you.
and you as well. The next person, Caitlin Gooch.
Good evening. My name is Caitlin Gooch. My address is 6400 Nightdale, Eagle Rock Road, Wendell, North Carolina. I know y'all can't directly answer questions, but my question for consideration tonight is what provisions are being made with the increase of litter, considering the amount of growth we're experiencing? I'm here to inform everyone of the negative impact of litter and balloon releases. We have more people moving into the Eastern Wake area, and unfortunately, more litter is appearing. This is dangerous to our environment and the animals. Horses and livestock in general can choke on balloons and even the balloon strings while grazing in the pastures. In case y'all didn't know, horses cannot throw up. An impaction could result in an expensive surgery, which doesn't always guarantee survival. I have been removing balloons from our property, and I am extremely frustrated with it. There are many positive alternatives to balloon releases. You can blow bubbles, a candlelight visual, eat and share memories together, host a moonlight walk, use flashlights, volunteer as a group, or research special ways to honor your loved ones that are not harmful to anyone or any animals. I am sharing this because I really love sharing my horses with the community, the things that I do through Saddle Up and Read, most of which is free. And I'm asking for people to stop putting my animals at risk and the farmers that own the land, especially our hay farmers, where I get our hay from, because balloons can end up in the hay bales, and if they get wrapped up in the machines, our horses are even more at risk. So please remember, what goes up must come down. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
We'll move into section 4, recognitions, reports, and presentations. And the first is item 4A, recognition of Wendell Elementary School staff member, Ms. Jeannie Weiniger. Ms. Weiniger has devoted many years to serving the staff and students at Wendell Elementary School as an instructional assistant. She is kind and patient with our students and an invaluable source of support to our teachers. She has contributed so much to the Wendell community during her career at Wendell Elementary School. We wanted to have you here and thank you for everything you've done over many, many years, more than you and I probably either one want to count, for our kids in Wendell. I think we have children the same age we talked about, and you've been there for many years, so I want to thank you for that. I know there's a lot of grown ladies and gentlemen walking around that remember you from Wendell Elementary School. Thank you for that. Thank you. Do you have anything you'd like to say? You don't have to. Nope. Some people do, some people don't.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, item 4B was requested by Police Chief Carter.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the board, citizens in attendance. I come to you with an exciting announcement tonight. On Saturday, November 11th, 2023, the Wendell Police Department was awarded initial law enforcement accreditation through the Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement. That was at a conference held in Bellevue, Washington. As y'all are well aware, 2019, in your strategic plan, your number one initiative under the goal of public safety and neighborhood improvement was to obtain this. We've met it, and I'm proud to say, but that's just the beginning. We began in 2020 the process of enrolling, hiring staff, and moving forward to achieve this. This involved a complete rewrite and revision of all of our existing policies as well as creation of new ones. Of course, then you have to implement those and train your staff so they know what the new rules of engagement as far as our day-to-day operations are. And then also developing the path to show CALEA that we were meeting those standards by proving that we were doing what we said. Or I always used to like to say, we're not only talking the talk, but we're walking the talk. So CALEA assessed us back in the summer. The first piece of that was an off-site file review. There were 183 standards that we had to address in some way, shape, or form. That was followed by a 3-day on-site assessment where an assessor from CALEA visited here, interviewed 17 people overall, the majority of our staff as well as community members. Those interviews and that review were done to make sure we were doing what CALEA says you should do. CALEA is recognized as the gold standard in law enforcement. The latest statistic I could find was in 2020, only about 5% of the law enforcement agencies in the U.S. are accredited. And those 5% make up only about 25 or 30% of the total staffing of sworn law enforcement officers in the U.S. Now, keep in mind, it's a voluntary process. And that process is designed to lay a foundation for law enforcement agencies to focus on achieving the best outcomes in the delivery of their services. What makes me particularly proud is the fact that everyone in our department contributed in some way to get to this point. It was a team effort. And what's interesting were two things I read and heard from the CALEA staff. The on-site assessor that visited our department commented that the culture of our agency, the day-to-day processes we utilized, and the operations reflected an agency that was already accredited. Then the commissioner that was reviewing our report as part of the hearings that we attended Friday said it was one of the best initial on-site reports he had ever had a chance to review. That is a direct result of the commitment of the men and women of the Wendell Police Department as they go about serving their community. The support of the board, some of you were here at the time, some of you have joined since then, was unanimous. I recall it sitting in Clayton, I think, when we talked about some of that stuff. And their commitment to accreditation was essential for us to get to this point. So without you, it wouldn't have been possible. It showed your commitment to excellence in law enforcement, and for that I'm thankful. I'd also like to recognize Manager Collins as well as the administration staff as a whole. There were many pieces that touched many parts of this department, from financial services to human resources, and at every turn we could work closely together to make sure that we were doing the right things according to the standards that we had to meet. And here's where I said it doesn't stop here. Accreditation is an ongoing process. So going forward, the agency will be subject to annual reviews of files to show that it's continuing to demonstrate compliance with those standards, and then an on-site visit that'll occur every 4 years. So it's not a one-and-done test, but I've got every confidence that the Wendell Police Department will be up for that test going forward. A media release was published today, and I don't know who will pick it up or how much of it they will run. But my comment to the media to reach the public is this: our community recognizes, excuse me, expects and is entitled to professional, high-quality law enforcement services delivered on a daily basis. One key pillar in achieving that is the willingness to show external police practitioners an opportunity to come in and evaluate the Wendell Police Department or any law enforcement agency, and to test us against what are known as best practices in the profession. The high standards CALEA has set, as I mentioned before, mean that only about 5% of law enforcement agencies achieve that prestigious award. And we're honored and proud to now be able to say we've joined that small yet elite group in the continued pursuit of law enforcement excellence. I am proud to have been a part of obtaining this recognition, but I'm even prouder of the entire department as they can be recognized internationally as CLIA accredited. Thank you.
I could just burst with pride.
You're
I'm
not the
so
only one.
proud. I know, and I've just been excited all day. So thank you for everything that y'all did, all of you. We heard an example, spontaneous example of that in here tonight, you know, that I think had all of us quiet and blinking hard. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, there's a lot of things that the police officers do, and we're very proud of each and every one of y'all. So thank you so much for making Wendell proud.
Thank you. It's a privilege and honor to serve.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move into section 5, our public hearings. And item 5A is a public hearing to annex and rezone approximately 12.68 acres located at 1436 Raybon Drive from Wake County Residential 20 to Town of Wendell Agricultural Zoning. We're going to hear from Janine Inguira.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Commissioners.
Good evening.
Yes, we're going to hear about the annexation and rezoning of approximately 12.68 acres located at 1436 Raybon Drive from Wake County Residential 20 to Town of Wendell Rural Agricultural Zoning District. So the applications have been received for this annexation and rezoning. This parcel is located off of NC Highway 97 and Raybon Drive. And the purpose of the annexation and rezoning is for the development of one single-family home that will connect to town water. The home has been permitted by Wake County and is under construction. And the property is part of the Town of Wendell Urban Service Area and meets all of the eligibility requirements for annexation. So this is the project setting map. You can see the parcel, the proposed RA, and surrounding it is Wake County Residential 20 zoning district parcels. There's some conditional use general business there, and R40 parcels. And as far as like there's mostly residences, but there's also some businesses, a small bar on the abutting property to the east, and a vehicle repair shop across the street. So the water is available along Raybon Drive. The home will be served by septic. And when a resident wants to connect to city water, they need to annex into the town limits. When a property is not in the ETJ, then it also has to be rezoned since it needs to have a Town of Wendell zoning designation to be annexed. Since this is a general rezoning, even though the intent is to build a single-family home, if approved, everything that is in the RE zoning district would be permitted on the property. Those are the lot dimensions and setbacks for single-family homes in the RA district. And if the owner were to create any additional lots, all lots would be required to be a minimum of 1 acre, and they would have to front on public right-of-way. Blueprint Wendell 2030 classifies this area as medium residential 1. Single-family detached homes are appropriate for that designation. However, the density is intended to be 2 to 4 dwelling units per acre. So if approved, the future land use map would be updated to low-density estate residential, because obviously that doesn't meet that density. Any recommended change to the zoning map should be accompanied by a statement explaining how it is or is not consistent with the comprehensive plan and is or is not reasonable in nature. So this rezoning is inconsistent with the medium residential living one place type. in the Blueprint Wendell 2030, since the density is significantly lower than 2 to 4 dwelling units per acre. But it could be considered reasonable as it assists with the plan goal listed there. The applicant held a neighborhood meeting on August 7th. And even though the proposed rezoning is inconsistent with the comp plan, due to its low density, it could be considered reasonable since the applicant is required to rezone an annex in order to get water service. And it also fulfills one of the goals of the comp plan. So staff does recommend approval. The applicant requested a connection to the existing municipal water service along Raybon Drive instead of drilling an individual well. Other residents of Raybon Drive are connected to municipal water, but are not within the town limits. Previous policies allowed this connection, which is not allowed now, but they do pay double the water rates. And so you can see the planning board action there. And that's it. And I can answer any questions if you have them, and the applicant is also here if you have any questions for him.
Okay, let's open the public hearing. Are there any questions from the board? Okay, well, we can hear from the does the applicant have something they'd like to?
Would you like to share anything? I think you explained everything. Okay.
Okay, that's fine, that's perfectly fine. All right, so are there any questions from the board? All right, are there any questions from the public? Is there anyone in the public that would like to speak for or against this project? All right, we'll close the public hearing, and what's your pleasure?
Mayor, I move we Madam Mayor, I move we approve the proposed annexation and rezoning request and make a motion to adopt the attached ordinance.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve the annexation and rezoning and adopt the attached ordinance. Is there any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
No.
Okay. All right, thank y'all. Item 4B is a public hearing to annex and rezone two parcels located at 2132 and 2208 Eagle Rock Road from Wake County Residential 30 to Town of Wendell Rural Agricultural. Mr. Coates.
Yep, good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. This item is a public hearing to annex and rezone two parcels located at 2132 and 2208 Eagle Rock Road from Wake County Residential 30 to Town of Wendell Rural Agricultural. Applications have been received for the annexation and rezoning of the approximately 3.5 acres with the two pins referenced. This request is to satisfy the approved zoning condition for the Wendell Ridge Master Plan that was approved in 2022. The zoning condition requires these two parcels had to be submitted for annexation within 90 days of that approval, which they were. Whenever parcels from Wake County jurisdiction are proposed to be annexed to Town of Wendell, we have to rezone those as part of the same process, as they were not included in our ETJ. Two parcels are highlighted in red on this map. The R4 conditional district that surrounds the majority of these parcels was approved for a residential subdivision on December 12th, 2022. No development plans have been submitted for these two parcels at this time. Any use other than what's allowed in the RA would require a rezoning at a future date. Lot sizes, current two parcels, one's 1.4 roughly acres, the other one's 1.7. The structures on both parcels do meet our minimum setbacks for the RA zoning district. There is an existing pet grooming and boarding facility at 2208 Eagle Rock Road. Pet grooming and boarding are considered animal services in our UDO, which is permitted in the RA zoning with some additional standards. The grooming business does not meet all of our additional standards, so that would be, if annexed, that would be a non-conforming use, but would be allowed to continue on that site. Just that the setbacks for the actual use of animal services is not, the buildings are not 100 feet from the property line.
But as long as it continued to exist the way it does today, it can continue to exist.
It can continue, correct?
And is that specific to the business that currently operates there, or?
The use. So, yeah, if someone were to continue the operation under different ownership, as long as the use continues, it can stay. Staff did contact Wake County regarding any building permits for the grooming and boarding. We were not able to find any, neither were Wake County, of any permits issued for the use. The buildings on the property meet setbacks, the use does not, and so that would be the existing non-conforming use. Other uses permitted in the RA zoning district are agricultural related, a bed and breakfast, outdoor storage, outdoor amusement, campground, child adult daycare, indoor outdoor recreation, family and group care, indoor event, outdoor events. Some of those do require an SUP. The full list is in your attachment in your packet. Blueprint Wendell does classify this area as medium residential 1, which Janine just went over in the previous rezoning. Does allow, it says existing development, it could be single-family detached homes up to 2 units per acre. The current uses are a little lower density than that, but overall there are 2 single-family homes in the neighborhood-type retail on the property, which does fit mostly with that classification. As any recommended change to the zoning map should be accompanied by a statement. The proposed rezoning is consistent for the density. The rezoning can be considered reasonable. The goal in the comp plan is connectivity, integrates aesthetics with capacity improvements. These 2 parcels front along Eagle Rock Road, and the project will be doing a more widening of that frontage than just in the original parcel for Wendell Ridge. These parcels will be part of those road improvements. Neighborhood meeting was held virtually on March 27th. Meeting notes were provided in your attachment as required by our town UDO. The proposed rezoning is partially consistent with the comp plan. It is lower density residential. It is at this time proposed to stay as those current uses. Planning Board at their September 18th meeting did vote 7-0 on the motion to recommend approval of the rezoning. The applicant, Mark Puryear, is here. If you have any questions for him, I can field any as well at this time.
All right, let's open the public hearing. Any questions from the board at this time? Does the applicant want to be heard?
Only if you guys have questions.
Okay. Are there any questions for the applicant from the board? All right, everybody's quiet tonight.
I have just a question, Mayor Gray. Just for my clarity, and I was reading through the neighborhood meeting notes. So I know the question was kind of clarified with the current type of business there would be fine. No change has to be done there. Nothing extra on the business owner that's there now. And is there, at this point, this is just to fulfill our obligation of bringing this into town? Is there any plans? Is there anything that's set up for this? Is this just to check a box?
Yeah, at this time, there's no current plans for any type of development there. Current use would be what we'd be using, going forward until none of us can really predict the future. But this was, 2 parcels that we purchased, and we have purchased those. It were basically adjacent to the Wendell Ridge subdivision.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the board? All right, thank y'all. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak for or against this project? All right, we'll close the public hearing.
Mayor, I'll just say I appreciate the detail in which the applicant provided those comments from the meeting. It was very telling. With that, I make a motion that we approve the rezoning and approve the rezoning request and adopt the attached ordinance. Screen, I'm sorry, I'm trying to read a screen that's moving 3 different
Okay,
ways.
so I figured you were.
I can beat that. Madam Mayor, I move we approve the rezoning request and make a motion to adopt the attached ordinance.
And the annexation request.
Yes, ma'am.
So we have a motion to approve the annexation and rezoning requests and adopt the attached ordinance. Is there any discussion on the motion? All in favor? Anyone opposed? All right. Item 4C is a public hearing to annex and rezone approximately 31.12 acres located at 0 and 1217 Eagle Rock Road from rural residential to neighborhood center conditional district to create Eagle Rock townhomes. Ms. Griffin.
Thank you. Again, this is to rezone these properties from rural residential to neighborhood center conditional district, 31.12 acres. There is vacant land to the north of this, as you will see here, that's rezoned to R3 in 2020. No development plan has been received on that as of yet. To the south and east, the zoning is RA, residential agricultural, with homes that front on White's Lane. To the west and across Eagle Rock Road, there is the Eagles Crossing subdivision. Anderson Farm subdivision is under construction to the north, and that includes single-family as well as townhomes. The subject properties are currently within the town's ETJ and are zoned rural residential. Neighborhood Center is coded to provide for areas for residential and mixed-use development in close proximity to existing and planned neighborhood centers. The intent is to create higher-density residential areas that complement commercial districts with physical proximity and pedestrian connectivity. Different housing types and lot styles are encouraged. Development in this district should encourage pedestrian use through connections to adjacent neighborhoods and construction of mixed-use buildings. Townhomes are not allowed within the rural residential district, which is why the request for NCCD. You also see the lot dimensions for townhomes there within Neighborhood Center District and the proposed by the applicant, and see that all lot sizes and setbacks do meet the UDO. All setbacks in this case where garages are present are 20 feet. They are front-loaded townhomes. The 20 feet does ensure that they can park without overhanging sidewalks and such. The applicant has proposed the following conditions, and we've got a few to read here, so if you'll bear with me. Townhomes are a permitted conditional use by right as recognized by approval of this rezoning of the subject property. The rear and side building elevations of each home within the community shall have a minimum of one window or door on each floor within the home on the exposed wall, so the end units. Each window, entry door, and garage door shall have trim molding measuring 4 inches wide and/or decorative shutters surrounding each window. Garage doors must include glazed windows with decorative hardware details and/or other accents included. Again, all homes will have front-loaded garages. A master bedroom and bathroom will be located on the first floor of every 2-story townhome unit that measures 28 feet in width. For siding materials, a minimum of 2 of the following materials will be utilized on the exterior. They are as follows: wood, fiber cement, masonry brick, brick veneer, masonry stone, stone veneer, composite synthetic stone. Vinyl siding is not permitted except for trim elements of the dwelling unit facade. The exterior siding designs will contain various design patterns such as horizontal or vertical elements, shake or board and batten designs. Windows and casings, various decorative elements, and trim moldings, again, may be vinyl. To promote variation in home appearance, no townhome front elevations shall be constructed within 3 houses from an identical elevation. For corner lots, this shall also apply diagonally across the intersection. All areas other than common areas within the development are considered as yards and will utilize sod as ground cover. The community HOA is to be established and will be responsible for continued maintenance of all building yards, amenities, recognized open space areas, stormwater control management devices, the existing pond that's located within the community, roofs and exteriors of residential buildings, and provide termite control to all buildings and facilities. All amenities and areas defined as open space will be maintained by the community's HOA. There shall be a community landscape plan inclusive of additional landscaping located at Eagle Rock Road frontage and additional areas of pollinated landscape gardens and areas located within the community. Pollinator garden areas shall not be less than 200 square feet and will consist of varying types of native pollen-producing plants to attract pollinators such as bees and butterflies. Each building will have additional screening on the sides of buildings consisting of shrubs and/or low-story trees. On-street parking will be permitted within spaces provided in designated areas only. Each three-story home will have a second-floor deck attached, measuring 4 by 9 in length and width. The two-story homes will have a patio measuring 10 by 12. The exposed foundation of each residential building will have a stone or masonry water table surround at a minimum of 12 inches in height, and the minimum square footage of homes within the community will be 1,500 square feet. Accessory and amenity facilities shall be constructed of materials that blend well with the architectural and aesthetic styling of the community and be of similar materials. The front and back eaves of all residential buildings shall have 12 inches of overhang. The maximum block length shall be 1,000 linear feet for all streets and roads within the community. Road A shall be the one permitted street cul-de-sac that exceeds 300 feet in length. Undisturbed buffer areas will be located within the community where required. Where existing vegetation does not meet the applicable buffer requirements, the buffer shall be supplemented to meet UDO requirements. There should be a 10-foot wide Type B buffer adjacent to the pins 1774, 62, 7190, and pins 1774, 61, 66, 42. There is the site plan that you see there before you, and notice all the environmental areas that impact the site, as well as the pond and the stormwater management devices. UDO Section 8.6A requires a 20-foot Type B buffer along the western property line, since the proposed zoning is more intense than the adjacent existing single-family residential home. A 10-foot Type C is required between the subject parcel to be zoned NC/CD and the vacant residentially zoned parcel. The applicant is asking in this case for a 10-foot Type B buffer rather than 20-foot wide through zoning condition 20. The plantings and density of plantings would still be the same. It would just be 10 feet wide instead of 20 feet wide. The development is showing the 10-foot Type C buffer is required against the vacant residentially zoned properties outside of the environmental areas where there cannot be any disturbance. The plan shows the standard 20-foot wide Type B buffer against the property identified by pin 1774 709838 on the southeast corner of the property, just for reference, on the very southeastern corner there. The proposed development plan includes street tree plantings along both Eagle Rock Road and on all internal public streets as required. For open space, the UDO requires 1,000 square feet per townhome unit, and that 25% be improved and 1/3 of that be active. The proposed development plan requires 150,000 square feet of open space, and they are providing 656,000 square feet. The plan does also include the required amount of improved and active open space, including a dog park and a playground. For streams and wetlands, the site is again heavily impacted by environmental areas. As you saw, the current development plan does show the location of the streams and the wetlands. There are 3 noose riparian buffers on the site as well as wetlands. The development plan does show the required 50-foot noose riparian buffer, which is measured from the top of the stream bank. UDO Section 16.11 does require a TIA for development plans that exceed 100 peak hour trips. The UDO does allow the planning director to require a TIA for projects that generate between 75 and 100 before the UDO requirement kicks in. This proposed project generated a peak hour trip of 86 PM peak hour trips. So the applicant did prepare a TIA for the proposed development, and it has the following requirements and improvements. Eagle Rock Road at the site drive. In fact, let me go to this map here. There you go. Eagle Rock Road at the site drive is southbound left turn lane into the site with 50 feet of storage. And in the arterial and collector street plan, Eagle Rock is a future 4-lane divided road. A 4-lane divided roadway consists of 110 feet of right-of-way. That's 12-foot travel lanes, 5-foot bike lanes, sidewalks, and street trees. The local streets within the development are 52 feet right-of-way roads. There are 3 stubs to adjacent properties. All lots have the required 2 parking spaces. There's parking at the amenity as well as parallel parking on some internal streets. There are 35 additional designated guest and mail kiosk parking spaces. Through zoning condition 18, the applicant requests that a block length of 1,000 feet be granted. The UDO requirement is 800 feet maximum, and that Road A, which is a cul-de-sac, it's the long cul-de-sac in the middle, be allowed to exceed the 300-foot maximum length for cul-de-sacs. There are wetlands along the southern property line, and allowing this longer cul-de-sac allows the applicant to use the southeastern portion of the site where there are no wetlands. Currently, the plan only shows 1 phase. This parcel did come before you back in December of 2022 to reclassify this in the land use plan from medium residential living 1 to medium residential living 2. This proposed project does meet the characteristics of the MRL2 place type, which allows a density of 4 to 8 units per acre and does allow for townhomes as well. The moderate, for the characteristics for that MRL2 is moderate density comprised of single family or attached single family such as townhomes or duplexes. This is, of course, only attached townhome units. Density of between 4 and 8 units per acre. The proposed project has a density of 4.8 units per acre. And improved open spaces in the form of pocket and neighborhood parks. This proposed development does include a dog park and a playground. You see the MRL2 place type there. Any recommended change to the zoning map should be accompanied by a statement explaining how the change is or is not consistent with the comprehensive plan and is or is not reasonable in nature. The medium residential 2 place type, again, calls for 4 to 8 units per acre, with this being 4.8 units per acre. So the plan is consistent with Blueprint Wendell 2030 and could be considered reasonable as it assists with Plan Goal NH3 to diversify housing to appeal to different groups, age, income, lifestyle preferences, and family situations. The 2-story townhomes, again, will have a downstairs primary suite, and currently there are 42 2-story units planned. The applicant did hold a neighborhood meeting on August 22nd of 2023. 11 adjacent neighbors were notified. No one attended the meeting. However, one neighbor did reach out to the applicant and the project engineers and ask some questions ahead of time, and you have a summary of that included in your packet. There it goes. The Technical Review Committee completed the review of the master plan, and the applicant has made corrections based on those comments and the UDO requirements. If approved, construction drawings would need to be submitted. That's the final stage for development plans for conditional districts. The proposed development is again consistent with Wendell Comprehensive Plan Blueprint Wendell 2030 and could be considered reasonable as it fulfills the plan goal NH3 as discussed, and therefore staff recommends approval. You can see the planning board action there. They did vote 7-0 on the motion to recommend approval. I'll be happy to take any questions. The applicant does have someone to speak.
Okay. All right, let's open the public hearing. Are there any questions from the board?
Yeah, I got a couple.
Yeah, go ahead.
On Street A, make sure, and if you can go back to that slide real quick. You mentioned wetlands, but
I think Street A, I'm sorry, is the one to the south. I think I missed it.
so my question was, the understanding that the one that has the exception is the middle one, or is requesting the exception. Is the wetland concern something that prohibited, or was there a conversation about adding what I would call like a north-south connector in the middle that would go down to the bottom road and potentially add another stub street, or is that, just how's that fit into the requirements?
So the block length, they are asking for an exception to the block length to permit 1,000 linear feet as opposed to 800. The cul-de-sac also has an exception to allow it to be longer as well. But this block length, or this wetland issue, and I'll let the engineer speak a little more clearly on that, but I think they can only have one crossing, and it has to be at a certain angle to be, is that correct?
Impact, the amount of impact to the wetlands are.
And can you just point out where the crossing is that you're talking about in that explanation?
Is it the red
Middle,
button?
yeah.
Give us your name and address for the record.
Yeah. Patty Harrell Hilburn with McKim Creed,
Thank you.
1730 Varsity Drive, Raleigh. Not? Okay.
Maybe not.
Or if you
So-
just describe it real
Yeah, I will, I certainly will. So you can see, if you come in the entrance, you take a right, and go down that southern road there. Near the parking, there's some off-street parking there as well. You'll see a hatch that has like, it looks like dots, on that, and that is the wetland area. This area right here is, we already are impacting some, and we tried to minimize it as much as possible. You can see that there's one block between units there, or buildings, that we totally just left because we were reaching a mitigation point with the wetlands. So the intent is to impact the least amount we could in this area. And so it just put some hardship on, the length and achieving the 800.
And so the sort of north-south connector, mid-block connector that I'm thinking of or talking about would
yeah.
hit right in the middle of what you're talking about?
Yeah,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Sure.
And one more, Stacy, are there sidewalks on these streets?
Yes.
Okay, I thought so, I just want to make sure.
Any other questions?
I have a question off of Commissioner Eatman's real quick. Was the design or was the plan of the project to have a cross street or cross connection? Was that the original wish of the project?
That was never presented, the north-south was never presented.
Okay.
Because of those wetland areas.
Okay, I guess my question then is, the minimum is 800. I mean, the minimum is 800, right?
The maximum.
Maximum, I'm sorry. So you can do more frequently, correct?
Correct.
Okay, all right. So in theory, they could have moved, if they wanted to, they could have moved one further towards this way, correct? Or would that?
Maximum block length is 800 feet.
Okay.
So they could, yes, have a 300-foot-long block or a 500-foot-long, but they cannot exceed the 800
Okay.
feet.
Okay. All right,
But
thank you.
both gaps that they have along that southern road
Mm-hmm.
in between the building units, both gaps have wetland areas in
Okay.
them.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions from the board?
I have one other one, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
You said that it was changed from the MR1 to MR2 back early this year, is that correct?
December of last year.
December of last year. And just refresh my memory again on how MR1, how it would have differed.
It's less dense. It's
Just less dense.
2 to 4, and MRL2 is 4 to 8.
Okay.
So it was changed from 2 to 4 to 4 to 8.
Okay, so this project would not have worked under the MR1, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Does the applicant have anything else they'd like to, give a presentation or anything? Yeah.
Hello, my name is James Rumley with Caruso Homes. I'm the land use attorney for the applicant here. We are at 110 Horizon Drive, Raleigh, North Carolina. And yeah, just to keep it brief, I understand the planning department has already made a finding. We are consistent with the Wendell's UDO and Blueprint Wendell 2030. Some of the planning theories that support this is the systems theory, modernist planning, rational approach. But I won't dive into all that since that would be a bit redundant. I did just want to highlight what a great fit the proposed rezoning request is, which is neighborhood center with conditional district also. Just to read what a neighborhood center is, the neighborhood center district is coded to provide for areas for residential and mixed-use development in close proximity to existing and planned neighborhood centers. The intent is to create higher density residential areas that complement commercial districts with physical proximity and pedestrian connectivity. Different housing types and lot styles are encouraged, and it appears this is almost tailor-made for our project that we are presenting here today. We, just to check some of those boxes I just read, close proximity to existing and planned neighborhood centers. There's basically a circle of neighborhood centers and probably 2 or 3 mile radius around our proposal, and we're just going to fill right in the middle there to be as connected as possible to all of them. If you're just right in the middle, it's a perfect spot to build up the middle. We're also got 87 to the west of us, down to Wendell Falls, downtown Wendell's to the east, and we're again just building up that middle in close proximity to the greenway, just to make it all more interconnected. Different housing types, lot styles are encouraged. That's why we have the 2 and 3 story plans, different price points, different layouts, just for a wide variety of needs for individuals moving to this area. And also, this proposed request will it'll just be more consistent with the land use attached to this area, which is MRL2. So townhomes, our proposal is all townhomes. That wouldn't work for something in rural residential, which is currently zoned. It would just be kind of incompatible. So we're just asking for your stamp of approval here to make this compatible with MRL2 and neighborhood center, so we can build townhomes, which is not allowed in rural residential. We also have our engineers here also. I have my colleague Bruce Whitten. He may or may not have a few words to add, but I'll leave the floor.
Good evening. My name is Bruce Whitten. I'm with Caruso Homes, who will be the developer and builder at this particular community. I can't do any better than what Stacy's done, so I would like to make a couple of comments. Basically, got nothing to do with this community. I've been extremely impressed with your planning department here. The concept that you've gotten here is unbelievably astute and works very easily with what we're doing. You guys are lucky to be in Wendell. I've seen how good the police department is tonight, and then working with your planning department is actually enjoyable. And I can't be any more serious than that. They're a pleasure to work with. Stacy's got her eye rolled down when she sees me coming, though. They are a pleasure to work with, and one thing I would like to do, my hometown of Henderson is getting ready to know what you guys are going through right now. And so I've already actually talked to the planning department in Vance County and Henderson that you guys have put together a document that works very well for what the position that they're in, and I hope you don't mind. Y'all may be getting a phone call pretty soon. Basically, I'm not gonna go back through Stacy's presentation. There are a couple of things that I would like to point out again, and that's the diversity of the community, and that we'll have, God knows, probably 12 different elevations and different floor plans for the 3-story and the 2-story units. A lot of the 2-story units will have a 2-story, they'll have a bedroom on the first floor, which I understand this market really would like to have, and so that will be there. And I see y'all know Mr. White, and he has, one of the options that he bought when he bought one of ours was actually he's got a bedroom on the first floor of that 3-story building as well. So there's all kinds of things that can be done to increase the diversity of that property. If you've got any questions, I'm happy to answer them, or you're only allowed to ask me a question I know the answer to.
Any questions from the board?
Phil and I have the same one.
Quick question, how many, is this for rental or for?
Oh, no, these are all for sale.
For sale?
Yes.
Individual homeownership?
Yep. And with that comes the homeowners association that'll handle all the maintenance, so that it's not falling on the individual homeowner. So I think that sort of guarantees a well-kept community.
Any other questions from the board?
I was just going to ask how this product compares to what you're building on the Wendell Boulevard.
It's a lot of I'd say that's 90 to 95% basically the same 3-story unit, although we will be working to increase capacity in the garage area. And I think what you see there is a good representation of what will be at Eagle Rock, virtually the same, but a lot of different small tweaks to increase that diversity level.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Well, I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone that's here tonight that would like to speak about this project? Yes, ma'am. Come to the podium and give me your name and address.
My name is Caitlin Gooch. My address is 6400 Nightdale Eagle Rock Road. Is there a time limit on this part?
5 minutes.
Okay. I just have, I don't know, general questions as I sit in all of these town meetings. As far as this proposal, how long does it take to finish the rest of the, I guess, creations for the phases? What happens to the streams and the wetlands? How does that impact our environment? For those of you who don't know, I was born and raised here in Wendell. Eagle Rock was actually its own town at one point, and that is where I'm from. That is where both sides of my family are from. And a lot of times in the meetings, everybody talks about small town charm. Does the name have to be Eagle Rock Townhomes? And I ask that because I don't know what the significance, I guess, a developer wanting to call it Eagle Rock other than it being on Eagle Rock Road. But my great-grandmother, my paternal great-grandmother, she died in 1988. She lived to be 101 years old. In an interview that she did for the paper here, I don't know if it was the News and Observer or a local paper, she said that she would never leave Eagle Rock. And sometimes I just wonder, you know, if she was alive, would she leave if she saw how things were today? Y'all know, I know growth is coming, growth is here. That's great, but there's nothing for our teenagers to do. There's nowhere for them to go. Outside of parks and rec, nothing for them to do. Maybe the 31 acres could have a better use than more townhomes. So, yeah, those are just a couple of things I was thinking of. And as far as the neighborhood meeting, not having anyone attend, could y'all try again? I know it was listed maybe 11 neighbors, but sometimes when I look, of course, because I'm in the community and I'm talking to people and I read Facebook comments, sometimes people don't know, sometimes people aren't aware. If we look at the meetings, the same people come. It's at times that where working people are working. Yeah, so those are just my general comments. Thank you.
Would you like to, someone like to address the phases? Timeframe for the phases?
The next step, if this is approved tonight, would be construction drawings. Those generally take 6 to 8 months, depending on how fast the applicant turns back in plans and how comprehensive those are. We discussed the impacts and a little bit to the wetlands and things of that nature. Those permits do have to be applied for and granted through the state. If there's any other questions, I'll be happy to answer. The neighborhood meetings, we require that adjoining property owners and those across the street are notified. It's the same list that gets notified for the public hearings, get notified for the neighborhood meetings. That is correct.
So they do know about that.
And a sign is posted, as well as a notice in the newspaper for the public hearing. The neighborhood meeting is a letter sent by the applicant, and they are welcome to have that meeting under the ordinance. They can have it either virtually or in person.
Stacy, one more. Sorry to harp on this, but thank you for reiterating that there are really 2 length exceptions on the streets.
Mm-hmm.
Can you point out, I guess, can you just tell me where all of them are? Is it 3 because each of these roads has at least a block length exception, or is there?
Just the top one? Or is the top one's okay, because it has the stub? Because of the stub to the north, kind of west, there, the top one is fine on block length.
From that stub to the main
Correct. It's
intersection
from
is
each
less than
intersection.
800?
That's correct. And then the middle one is a cul-de-sac that's longer than the UDO allows.
And is 800 the number for both cul-de-sacs?
300 for cul-de-sacs.
Okay.
And the southern road is longer than 800 feet block length from the main intersection after the divided island when you first come in and you start down south, from that to the intersection with the north-south road that's on the eastern part of the property. So it's longer than 800 feet. So they're asking to be able to go up to 1,000.
And one more question, and this may be an engineering question, but understanding the wetland concern that we already talked about, I mean, would the alternative, I guess, be where the townhomes are in the plan? Like, you'd have to lose, you could build, my question is, could you build that road that I sort of conceptually talked about or thought about where the houses are, just at the expense of townhomes?
Oh, we could if the state would approve the impact.
And that's really what I'm getting at, is there a different, in my mind, if you can build a house there, you ought to be able to build a road there, but, or do I understand what you just said to me, that there is sort of a different standard between the 2?
Correct, and,
Okay.
and also I just want to add that, you know, the middle cul-de-sac, you know, what we've tried to do is work around the environmental constraints that we have and to do as less impact to the site as possible. You know, knowing that you've got wetlands and streams, but also, and they have buffers on them, of course, but we have, also, there's an existing pond that the applicant would like to keep, you know, on there as well. So, you know, I mean, he could have decided to take that pond out, but he wanted to keep it as a, you know, it was there, it's a nice pond, and so.
That's helpful, and just, I mean, make sure I understand process-wise. Does that mean that DEQ has to permit the street construction, but not necessarily the house construction? Is what the same?
The street, any impact.
There are no units located in the wetlands.
Okay, and that's, so that's what I was asking, I think, is,
Okay, I'm
could
sorry.
you put the north-south connector between the middle road and the southern road, that I'm sort of thinking about where there are houses? You'd lose houses, is what I'm saying, but that would be the only way to do what I'm talking
I
about.
see what you're saying, because I was thinking that you were talking about
Not
coming
in the
off
open
of that
space
road and
necessarily.
then going north-south. So the answer is, yes, we'd still impact wetlands. Yes, they would lose homes to do that and impact wetlands as well.
But we're going to impact the wetlands either way, right?
In some areas, we've tried to limit that impact.
I guess that's maybe just the statement I'd leave, and if y'all want to talk about it, that'd be great too. I'd love to see a street that, I guess I'm all about I understand a lot of the exceptions that we make for block length, but I mean, I'm sort of a stickler on that in some ways. I mean, I think the connectivity piece is really important, and just, if that was an option, that'd be.
Can you come up to the podium? Thank you.
Commissioner, to clarify for staff, if lots 84 and 85 and
You're gonna have to,
112 and 130, man, I got old eyes too.
Say, have a magnifying glass and.
Like 2 and 2, like it's lots and lots, there's no apparent wetland in that area. It would just be a 4-lot loss for a road cross-section. Is that clarifying what the commissioner was asking?
Yes, as well as, and I can't see the numbers you're talking about right now, so I want to.
Can't see them either.
I want to qualify that, yes, but what I'm
Between
talking
the
about
cul-de-sac
is
and the
going
southern
from the
road
middle
is what you're
cul-de-sac
Okay.
all the way to the southern boundary.
That is,
You know, is there a way to do that that doesn't hit the wetlands but would lose houses? Because I can see a line
Yes,
of
sir.
houses
yes, sir.
that would make that connection. It's
That's
just,
correct.
There's still wetland.
There's still wetlands.
To the, not to the western part, under where the lots are.
and maybe, actually, this may be more specific. On the southern boundary, there's an open space gap that we've talked about a few times that is that square area that has townhomes to the east and west. To the east of that, I'm talking about maybe losing a couple of those townhomes and then going, well,
They're trying to zoom in on it.
you know, at a northern, potentially a little bit northwest connection all the way up to the middle street. She has it, but it's not working.
Well, I think. Yeah, they're trying to zoom in.
I think I can answer that question for you, because primarily, we've looked at all those alternatives, and yes, on the bottom side of that road, that is all wetland, as you should be able to see. But I've had to fight this one right here to keep that pond.
Help me understand when you say on the bottom side of that road, it's all wetland.
Yes,
All those little numbers are curved, there's wetlands.
So I see all the lots. Are you saying all the lots are in wetlands, or there are
No,
wetlands
no,
behind the
no,
lots?
We are not hitting any of that or impacting, well, I think it's less than 2%.
I mean, I can show you on this zoomed-in version if this is helpful. Yeah. I mean, Mayor, you're in charge, but what I'm talking about is like starting here through to here, like this area right there. Could that be a north-south? Yeah. I get where your wetlands are, but like I'm saying, you would lose houses all the way through, but would that is the way that you could not, I'm asking, is that the way that you could not violate the block length?
Probably the only.
Okay. And so that's what I'm asking, is whether you'd have, I mean,
That would put the property in jeopardy, because we wanted a specific number for what the construction costs were gonna be, so that we had 150 units. And like I said, we've fought tooth and nail to keep that open space. That's one thing I would ask you to look at, is look at the amount of open spaces there and the ratio that are there on the open space requirement. And I don't want to touch that pond. That is one gorgeous.
I don't think
piece of
anyone's
property.
talking about touching the pond. I don't think we're even down that end. What we're talking about is midway up that street, you losing 4 houses, and in exchange for 4 houses, us getting connectivity between Street A and Street B.
it is C, just,
See,
so I know there.
When you
It
don't-
may be 6 or 10. I really, I mean, I'm not the designer. Yeah, like from here, but all
Get rid of the pond, as long as it's there.
It seems to me like we're not complying with our minimum block length requirement and our connectivity requirement, so that there can be houses where the street would be. It seems like there is a place for the street to be, and that doesn't feel like a great reason in my mind.
Well, like I said, the only reason it's there to begin with is there's a very limited amount of open space that's buildable on that particular lot. I don't necessarily agree with you that that's the only place. To me, there is no other place to put that street in there without losing units. That's not what we're looking to do. We need,
We're on the same page about that. I'm not implying that there's a place to fit it without losing units.
I mean, that's basically our answer. There's a very small.
So you would prefer us turn down the entire project and lose 4 units?
If we lose 4 units, we could turn down the entire project.
Well, that's what I'm trying to understand here, because
It's not something I want to do, simply because, as most of you know, I'm sure maybe all of you know, when you set out a budget, you look to hit that budget.
No,
This budget, this piece of property with the open space and the maintenance that's there and the requirements for construction that are there works at 150 units. Anything below that, we're taking a loss somewhere else that'll hit the bottom line and slow down production. So no, it's not something we would like to do.
I guess, and maybe this is a staff question, from Jim, it might be you or whoever. I mean, if we approved all of this tonight minus the condition that says they can violate the minimum lengths, would that give them the flexibility to go in and make adjustments to this before they get to construction drawings and continue moving forward if they wanted to? Does that question make sense?
Yes, sir. Their master plan would then not meet the UDO. So the master plan would need to be revised in order to meet the UDO.
Because the
Without that
UDO would be
condition.
what we passed in the
Correct.
ordinance that included the
Correct.
amended conditions, okay. But they could go back and do that afterward without coming back to us. That's a question. I just process-wise don't know.
Could they do that?
What's that?
Let me speak to the attorney just a minute. If the conditions for the excess in cul-de-sac length and block length were removed from the request, could they amend the master plan without coming back to this board?
No.
Okay,
That's what I thought.
thank you.
Can you reasonably look at it?
Absolutely.
And
We can go back
determine-
and review it again to see if there's any space to provide that by shifting some of those units around. We spent a lot of time looking at it, but I don't mind.
I'm assuming. And just to confirm, and maybe it's clear for you to see, are we talking the end, that 115, 116, and then 82, 81-ish?
And then the ones to the south of Road C as well, so to the property line.
Or is there a, I mean, do you go to the right of 32?
I'm not the designer. I wouldn't say where it needed to be. I just think that we have the connectivity and minimum block size rules for a policy purpose. I feel I'm sort of conservative about release.
I just want to say this, I keep hearing from different people, this is a good fit for this place. However, I feel that's kind of a little bit backwards because we change it from 1 to 2 to make it work. And then we're obviously, you guys have your number of 150, and we're trying to cram 150 into this lot as much as we can to hit your budget numbers and to check the box that we already kind of have changed for. So, I mean, I agree with Commissioner Eatman, the standpoint that I don't feel like it's a good fit because I feel like we're really pushing the envelope just to, in my opinion, put in townhomes in an area which I don't even really feel like they're that great of a connective fit. And, you know, with wetlands, with all this stuff around, we're trying to really make a lot of things work, cutting standards and block lengths short. And I don't know why we'd be doing that much work just to make this work. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And sometimes pieces of land aren't a good fit for certain projects, and that's my opinion on it too.
I'll say that, I I mean, I'm not opposed to the product, but, you know, connectivity with it being, and the other gentleman spoke to it, about it basically being in the center. And I think being in the center creates a little more of a need on the connectivity piece. I'm not opposed to the product, and I think for the purpose, I guess it's hard for us all just to stare at it and try to figure out how many you lose. And I understand, you know, anything greater than 0 you're not excited about, but, I mean, you know me, I'm always in favor of getting it right, so I don't know that we have to decide it tonight, but that's generally my opinion.
I was certainly prepared before the land use attorney got up and started talking I was getting ready to make a motion to approve the project. I think that the quality of the product that you built previously is good. After spending a lot of time looking at topo maps and figuring out where the water was on this one, like, I understand what you're talking about. I appreciate that you're preserving and I think trying to feature the water feature there. I think that could, every community has to have what is their draw. That could certainly be the destination. I know that people like to walk around water features. I see that in newer communities. I simply concurred with Commissioner Eatman's thought that, like, well, yeah, if we did knock out 4 houses there, we could make that connection, and then I don't have to worry about if the fire truck's making a left or a right, or if they need to go all the way to the end to loop around. It's not a big deal one way or the other, because they can go down to the end and turn around. That's why the fire chief signed off in TRC. I think from there, I don't know which, I thought that was a somewhat simple solution, but I understand that maybe it looks more simple than it is. I'm certainly in favor of the project and happy to make a motion whenever you're ready, Madam Mayor.
Let's wrap up our public hearing first. Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to speak?
My name's Paul White, and I'm a resident, and I will make a comparison that's separate from your road, talking about the pond. I gave it quite a bit. I'm gonna compare it to Harper's Glen. We wanted to have a look, we wanted to create something, and we kept the lake. We could have done away with it. It's possible this pond could be done away with. The wetlands is those other strips on the other side we have trouble crossing, and they only do one crossing. But they've made something beautiful by not doing away with that pond, by keeping the full thing and carrying it around and having a park on the other side. And I think that in itself has a big benefit for this project and makes it work. And you do have to have budgets with everything you do. We'd appreciate it if you approve it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any other questions from the board? All right, we'll close the public hearing.
Just to be clear about what I think I heard is, do y'all want to look at it anymore?
Like we said, even if it gets approved tonight, we will take a look at whatever it is we can create up there and bring it back to you. There's no problem with that at all.
Seems the wrong order there.
And I'd be happy to give you a chance to look at it before we make a decision about it, if you're willing to do that. I'd be happy to make a motion to table it then.
The motion to table it?
I don't know, staff and y'all, if you want to have a recommendation about how long that needs to be.
Next.
I think we can answer the question pretty quickly.
Next meeting?
Next meeting.
Okay.
We can address it.
What's that, 28? 27. Okay, so we have a motion to table it until November 27th. Is that correct? All right. Is there any discussion on the motion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Were you opposed as well?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Sorry, couldn't get my words out.
that's okay. Okay. We'll have no administrative items tonight, so we'll move into our other business. The first is update on board committees by board members. The first is the Eastern Wake Senior Center and the Central Pines Regional Council, Commissioner Deloach.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Senior Center, we discussed the nominated new board members. They were approved. There are also an additional, there's a new community partner portion, so there are a couple community partner members. That's pretty exciting news. Recap of programming, discussion of next year's fundraiser, and then we had a conversation about the upcoming holiday party. Well-attended, some long-serving members that are on the auxiliary board that are rolling off. So they're going to create probably a couple of spots that will be, I guess, honorary, more or less. So, next meeting is next year. So, and then I'm still used to saying TJ-COG, CPRC. I actually had a conflict with that. But we're meeting again on Wednesday, so I'll have a report back next meeting.
Okay, thank you. And the Wendell Volunteer Fire Department, Commissioner Joyner.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The only thing I'll add from the fire department is our clocks have changed, which means it is time to check the battery in your smoke detector if you haven't done so. And also, if you don't have a smoke detector, call the fire department and they will arrive and install it for you for free.
Don't call them at 3 when it starts chirping.
You will get a different response at that point.
All right, we'll move into our commissioners' reports and stay with Commissioner Joyner.
Nothing tonight, Madam Mayor.
Hey, Commissioner Lutz.
Yeah, that's all right.
I hadn't had dinner.
Okay. We just met the other day, so we're good. So yeah, I was excited today, and my whole office was excited today because we got to look out the windows and see all the Christmas lights going up. And so that's our favorite thing when the weather gets dark and it gets dark at 5 o'clock and we're leaving work, we go walk outside and see the Christmas lights. It's a little bit of a all right. So we're excited about that one. So looking forward to that. That's all.
Nothing.
Commissioner Trentaski.
Yes, thanks. Good evening, Mayor and everyone. I want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving come up. Have a blessed Thanksgiving for the town of Wendell and everyone here.
Commissioner Deloach.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I will echo that. Thanksgiving is always enjoyable. I have a birthday coming up. I was actually born on Thanksgiving, for anybody that might care. East Carolina football team won a game. So there's that. That's it. Thank you.
Okay. I was recently invited to attend a focus group by the Wake County Public Schools' new superintendent, Dr. Robert Taylor, and I was eager to hear his plans. It was very interesting, very informative. He did a listening tour all over Wake County. We've made plans for him to come and his chief of staff and present their strategic plan to the board so that everyone in Wendell can know what his plans are. And they've been emailing, so I think their dates are getting ready to be set. I suspect it will be sometime after the first of the year. But we'll get that done, and I'm eager to see and for everyone to be able to see what their plans are. I wanted to thank the Parks and Rec real quick for the treat trail. That is always a massive undertaking with a ton of kids and a lot of preparation, and I really appreciate it. I had a lot of compliments about it. Everyone always had a wonderful time at the treat trail. It's very special. We've also just finished the market for this year, so thanks to Matt Gardner for the Wendell Market. I look forward to it getting cranked back up again next spring. It's always fun. We'll let you know when those dates come around. Quick reminder that the Rain Meet on Main, the rain date is this Friday night, and the band is Vertigo, and it will be from 6 to 10, so come on downtown. It should be a nice night to be out, brisk, wear a coat, be fun. And I wanted to tell everyone happy Thanksgiving. I hope you have I know we all have a lot to be thankful for, and I hope you have a wonderful long weekend with family and friends and loved ones, and don't eat too much. All right, we have, need a motion to go into closed session.
Madam Mayor, I move we go into closed session.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. You can't vote no to go to closed.